Everybody, happy Monday. I'm so glad you're here. I wanted us to talk a little bit because it's Monday, and I know some of us did not feel like coming back to school, did not feel like coming back to class. So I'm proud of you for checking in. I'm proud of you for coming and doing the work. And the more we practice it, the easier it gets. But I really want to talk about that for a minute because it's super important. The big thing is, of course, we're coming up on the end of the 6 weeks, right? This 9 weeks is only 8 weeks. So 6 weeks is pretty much the semester's over. Keep that in mind. So this week is the 6th week. We're going to do the grade check. After that, we just have a week of class, and then pretty much the rest of the week is reviewing for the final. So there's not a whole lot of time to catch up if you're behind. But why do some of us fall behind? What goes on in our brains that makes us fall behind? Well, not surprisingly, I study this a lot. And it's important to understand what we're doing to ourselves and how we're doing it so we can work through it and have that success we want. So let me talk a little bit more about what's going on with us and what has been going on with me too. So today is November 30th, 2020, and we are going to be continue brain building. That's what we've been doing all year long, whether you knew it or not. And keep in mind, the more areas of your brain you activate, the more strongly you will remember, the more strongly it affects you. Well, how do you activate your brain with different areas? Well, of course, if you speak something out loud. Reading aloud affects you more than reading in your head. Listening to me read part of it, and then you taking over and reading part of it. That's a powerful way to do it. Acting, how you act, what you do, really affects you and connects to your memory. And both of those, speaking out loud, acting things out, makes a huge difference. If you have to study for a test, say a foreign language, and you act out the words that you are trying to memorize and you speak them out loud and you connect it to memory, oh my God, you are going to do great on that test. Also, writing things down and, of course, imagining them, symbolizing and comparing. All these habits, if you do that when you're learning, will make it so easy to do well on a test. Here's what also makes a difference: the power of integrity. I do what's right no matter how I feel. Really makes a difference for people. And for those of you that have been doing your best in my class, I'm going to email Carvajal and tell him that I'm falling behind, but I'm going to catch up. I'm going to stay up late to finish that assignment and turn it in. Anytime you work to do what's right, to suffer and be successful, you are getting stronger. But here's a problem a lot of us have. A lot of us have a lot of years of arguing, of being lazy, of feeling bad, and it ends up sticking with us because how we're acting and how we're speaking, and when we connect to memories, if a lot of the times we have not done what we're supposed to do, oh, I'll do it later, whatever. If we argue with our parents every time they ask us to do something, we have those habits if we've been doing it for years, right? Of arguing and not doing what we're supposed to do. So that we believe that that's normal, that's the way we should act, is to argue and disagree and not do what the people in charge tell us to do. It gets harder to do what's right. But if you remember, hey, I'm going to do what's right anyway. I'm going to have integrity. I'm going to say my affirmations, even though I feel silly when I'm saying them. They do make a difference. So keep that in mind. So, speaking of which, let's do our affirmations now so that we can have that mindset. Think about the future that you want, the career that you want, the lifestyle that you want. And what do you have to do to get there? You're going to have to learn how to believe these things about yourself, even if you don't really believe them now. So let's say them together because we're good people. We're smart, confident, and successful. Hey, that's one of our affirmations. Cool. All right, so what are you? I am smart, confident, and successful. Yes, you are. And the more you tell yourself that and the more you act on it, the more it becomes true. How do you feel about getting work done? I love getting work done. It feels good when I turn something in. Yes, it does. How do you feel about schoolwork? Gosh, I've learned this and it's so true. The harder I work, the smarter I become. You are training yourself to be intelligent, by listening, by paying attention, by doing the work. So keep that in mind. You're becoming more successful every time you have integrity and do what's right and do the work. All right, so for today, we will focus on writer's craft. And of course, I will do the work now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to do it now as soon as I can. I will read, imagine, listen to form my opinion, using my inferencing skills, and write my answer. This is our graded discussion. If it seems just like the ones we've done before, it is literally just like the ones we've done before. We're going to practice this because it's important. So, which feature most affected how well the author's argument was presented? Explain why. And some reminders, like we talked about on Friday. Remember, diction, style, well, those are the words used that create the voice of the speaker and may affect the mood or tone. So you have to ask yourself, is it sad because of the subject matter or the evidence? Or is the sadness really heightened and made more powerful because of the word choice, the voice? If yes, if it is the word choice and the voice, then be sure to explain and give details about some of the words that show that. Here's some examples of how diction really works. Similar to what we did last week, or the week before break anyway. This is the basic storyline, right? She said she'd always loved only me, but then I found out she cheated with my best friend. I was angry and sad. I slammed my fist into the wall, knocking the picture of us on our first date to the ground as I cried. Okay, that's basic. Let's use diction and create a voice here. Inconstant creature. What kind of woman would weave lies so sweet they nearly dripped with honey? And yet now I find she's cheating with my closest childhood compatriot. Morose and maudlin emotions waged war against my outrage and ire until I could take no more. For a moment, rage reigned supreme, and I curled my fingers in tight and slammed my fist into the wall. As if it were startled by the ferocity of my attack, the framed photo of us on our first date leaped from its perch and dove to the ground. It lay broken on the hard ceramic tile as I wept like a lost child with no hope of ever finding his way home. Okay, so the voice is very different from this to this, right? And that's what you want to focus on. For this one, a different voice, a different tone created by different words, right? The diction has changed. That little witch, the whole time we were talking, all she ever said was how this was forever and she would always love me. But now she's cheating with my best friend, my ex-best friend. I clenched my teeth, raised my fist, and boom, I drove it into the wall. The picture of us on our first date jumped off the nail and landed face down with a clatter to the left of my falling tears. Different diction, different sound, different voice, but basically the same information. Keep in mind, if the words used also make you feel emotional and more likely to act or believe in the argument presented, it would probably be more appropriate to focus on pathos, right? Emotions. They're getting to your emotions to make them do what you want. I'm not saying you can't focus on diction, but it's probably more that you would focus on pathos because it is argumentative. It is trying to make you believe or do something. So just keep that in mind. Any questions about any of that? Okay, good. So let's go into our Schoology, week 6, Monday's work. And here is our question. Notice it's exactly the same as the last couple of ones we've done. We're practicing this, right? Because we're going to understand it and be able to think this way quickly. Practice, practice, practice. So we're going to read, we need national service now. Which features, here's our question, which features most affected how well the author's argument was presented? Explain why. Is it the evidence, the facts or examples, the reasoning or the commentary, how they explain about the evidence and use it in their argument? The diction, the stylistic elements, the word choices that create the tone or the mood, and of course, persuasive elements, most likely pathos, but also there may be some ethos telling you, why this person is important and you should listen to them, or logos, they're giving statistics. But pathos is the strongest one, right? Your emotions, making you happy, sad, or strong, feeling strong or weak. So keep that in mind. Grading, you must answer the question asked, right? You must be your writing, not a quote. If you copy a 3-line quote, I'm just going to give you a 60. Keep that in mind. But you want 100. You are a good person. A 70 is just answering the question. 80 is a main point plus 1 line. 90 is a main point plus 2 lines of explanation. 100 main point plus 3 or more lines of explanation. You're a good person. You want an easy 100. Okay, so let's get to reading. Open up your own copy. I'm only going to read the first half of this. And the article is, "We need national service now." If you need to pause the video, and be ready to read along. I love reading. Reading is so much fun, right? We're going to use our imagination like we're watching a news show and read along. If we don't know all the words, it doesn't matter. Just skip the words we don't know and just understand. What's important is understanding the main point of the article and being able to decide, right, what was most important to making a good argument. All right, let's get started. We need national service now. The formative moment for a new generation, by David Brooks, opinion columnist, May 7th, 2020, and I believe this is also from the New York Times. There is now a vast army of young people ready and yearning to serve their country. There are college graduates emerging into a workplace that has few jobs for them. There are more high school graduates who suddenly can't afford college. There are college students who don't want to return to a college experience. This is a passionate, idealistic generation that sees the emergency, wants to serve those around them, and groans to live up to this moment. Now keep in mind, he's not talking about the army, right? We're not talking about people in the military. We're talking about people that want to volunteer. If you've ever volunteered before and helped out at the food bank or at your church, you understand that. So keep that in mind. We're not talking about the U.S. military. We're talking about young people who want to volunteer. Okay, let's keep going. Suddenly, there is a wealth of work for them to do. Contact tracing, sanitizing public places, bringing food to the hungry, supporting the elderly, taking temperatures at public gathering spots, supporting local government agencies, tutoring elementary school students so they can make up for lost time. Dr. Tom Frieden, former head of the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, has said we will need as many as 300,000 contact tracers alone. The obvious imperative right now is to join workers with the work. It's to expand national service programs to meet the urgencies of this moment. There's a good bill winding its way through the Senate to do precisely that, led by Chris Coons, a Democrat from Delaware. Coons was born to service and came to maturity doing service. His dad grew up in Boston and said that he never really understood the fullness and meaning of America until he commanded troops from all over the country in the Army in the 1950s. As a young man, Coons launched one of the first AmeriCorps programs, leading 150 members in 15 cities who tutored students in inner city schools. Later, he created another AmeriCorps program with a local volunteer fire department in Delaware. It was the most inspiring thing I've ever been a part of, Coons told me. His bill would double the current number of AmeriCorps volunteers in its first year, from 75,000 to 150,000. Then, for years 2 and 3, it would double the number again to 300,000. It would also increase AmeriCorps stipends, right, the money they get paid, which are now as low as $15,000 a year, so volunteers can have a living wage. The Coons bill is an excellent start, but it needs to be bigger and bipartisan, right? Democrats and Republicans. Under AmeriCorps, the federal government provides money for the volunteers, matched by private funding. State commissions supervise most programs, and the volunteers work through nonprofits and local agencies. The downside is that the big, well-established nonprofits have a significant advantage when it comes to receiving AmeriCorps volunteers. Okay, so they're going to explain different ways people can help besides via AmeriCorps, some of the problems that might happen, and how things are going to work. Once again, if you don't know a word, who cares? Skip it and keep going. When you're done, get to this question. Remember, we are not asking, do you agree? Yes, I think we need national service now, or no, we don't. Your opinion is your opinion. The question is, what feature most affected how the author's argument was presented? Focus on one of these four things. Put your answer here. Write me at least 3 lines because you were smart, confident, and successful. Get a good grade on this. If you have any questions, be sure and message me, and I am here to help you. So let's get back to this, right? The Coons Bill, volunteers through nonprofit local agencies. Go ahead and continue reading on your own. Find out what else this man has to say. And the last 2 paragraphs are really cool. They really try and get people to think the way he wants them to think. So be sure and read to the end. All right, have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. And hope you had a great break. Got lots of rest.